come once again to discuss things.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me once again is Rasco, Squatch Gang, Squirlock, Squampus.
Yes.
The list goes on.
The Squatch King.
Are you just going to throw a new one in every week?
Yeah, I'll just have like a bunch of AKAs on my Wikipedia page.
Oh, lovely. Anyway, so what are we talking about this time on our fan film reviews?
Today we are talking about the fan film Finnick Odair, A Hunger Games Story.
Indeed we are, and I need to turn the volume up because I can barely hear you. Indeed we are. We're talking about Finnick Odair, A Hunger Games Story. So let me start this one by saying, I know nothing about Hunger Games, except for that it's like a young adult series, and they make kids fight to the death. To keep the masses in check, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, that seems like a good way to not inspire riots.
Yeah.
Give young people a reason to want to fight the government. Yeah, sure, that seems like the best course of action. See, I know nothing about Hunger Games outside of those things. So, what I was able to glean from watching this guy's making of is this is a character that's in the books at one point. So help me out. What's the setup behind all this?
Okay, so Finnick is a character that the main character of the books meets in the second book. And in the second book, it's the event that goes on is called the Quarter Quell, which is every 25 Hunger Games. They do a special kind of event. And since it's the 75th Hunger Games in the second book, the special event is previous winners from past Hunger Games are all thrown back into the arena together. So it's no longer just random kids, it's the best of the best who ever won the Hunger Games, and Finnick is introduced that way. He's one of the characters who's a notorious hero in the capital for winning the Hunger Games, and he's from District 4, which is the fishing district, so that's why he uses the trident, because he's proficient with that and fishing equipment and stuff like that. So this is Finnick Odair winning his first Hunger Games, and that's what this fan film is about. It's about Finnick back when he was just a kid and he actually was in the Hunger Games for the first time.
Okay, so it's been 25 years since he was in the Hunger... Or no, not necessarily then.
Maybe
15. Just any winner from that's still alive.
Yeah. He's probably about 15 years older in the movie, I guess. I don't know. He's in his 20s, late 20s, I'd say, in the movies.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I was wait, wouldn't he be over 40 years old or something?
Yeah.
I suppose he could, but anyway, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Hunger Games, so I have a hard time trying to figure out where to start on this one. You take us somewhere.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off just talking a little bit about Finnick. Finnick's always been one of my he was one of my favorite characters just in anything I ever had seen or read after I read the second Hunger Games book, because Finnick's a really interesting character because he's kind of if you watch any of the movies or read the books, the capital, which is like Washington D.C., it's this area that's not a district, and it's where all the high plutocrats live in this world, and the capital's really distanced from the districts. The capital, it's really nice, everyone's really fashionable, but fashion has really evolved and it's crazy. And pretty much the most interesting idea in the Hunger Games books is that a future exists where people have become so desensitized to violence because they just watch kids fight to the death every year, and it's become an event. It's like watching American Idol for these people. They don't take it seriously at all, and so everyone in the capital is really shallow and really far removed from any sort of empathy or anything like that. And Finnick seems like he's like the king of that. Like he seems, when you meet Finnick, he seems like this cocky douchebag type of guy that you're just like, I really don't like this guy. He's completely been absorbed by this culture. And what you learn is he's not. He's become so jaded by it, he just chooses to blend in, and he actually knows all of these secrets, and he's actually in on a bunch of other underground stuff that you didn't know about. And I'm not going to spoil any of that here, but so Finnick's the character who comes across like this really shallow guy who's part of this like high society, but he's really not. He's really above it all. And
Gotcha.
The thing is, I don't know if Finnick becomes that way over time, or if Finnick should be that way as a kid. Because what I will say is, the actor, I think that the acting in the most part for this was serviceable, and I didn't think anyone was like particularly horrible. But the actor who played Finnick, I think, should have brought a little bit more charisma to the role, because Finnick's a very charismatic character.
Yeah. I don't know, I thought, I kind of agree with you. A lot of the acting is just okay, kind of serviceable. Let me just ask, does the actor look anything like the actor from the movies?
He looks enough like Finnick. I mean, he's like, I don't know, Finnick, like how Finnick is described is he's just like what you would imagine is like a American Eagle model. Like he's like this guy who just looks like he's like a male model, and like you think of him as this really shallow guy until you meet him, and that's kind of, and like that's a thing where it's like, if you're, I don't know if the kid should necessarily need to be that way, because that's something that Finnick later on in his life, when he lives in the capital after winning the Hunger Games, that's something that he kind of develops later, I would assume. But the kid is fine who plays Finnick. He looks enough like Finnick, I guess.
I was just curious, because like, from what I gleaned from watching the behind the scenes for this, he wasn't really thinking of trying to set it in the universe of the films. He kind of just wanted it to be its own thing that's kind of like spun off from the books, so it has its own look to it. Mm-hmm. And I definitely got that. It had a unique visual style that didn't really remind me of the bits I've seen from the movies, but I think part of that is just competent choices, and part of that is the fact that it's so low budget. That like you can't really afford to have much of a cinematic look, like the movies mm-hmm. show off from the trailers. Mm-hmm. Again, no idea what Hunger Games is. You can't really have much of a cinematic look on I think he said he got like $1,200 for this. Mm-hmm. And he does a good job of making the areas he's shooting. I mean, it is just a bunch of kids running around in the woods, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he does a good job of showing you all that and just putting it all on display in a really, really good way. I mean, it looks fantastic. The acting was a little bit better. I could see this as like a special feature or something on one of the Hunger Games DVDs. Yeah,
I think that visually, this looked great. Like, I really liked all the sky effects when they were doing, like, at the end of each day during the Hunger Games, whoever died, their picture is projected in the sky to let you know, like, who's been knocked out of the game so far. Just, like, that's why those faces were appearing in the sky, I guess, in case you didn't know. But,
no, I figured that. Yeah. It's not hard to understand a lot of what's happening, so it's just, it's told really competently. Mm-hmm. From visuals. Like, you don't need anyone to... Like, there's a couple moments where I feel like he has characters say things that are pretty much exposition, where it wasn't even necessary. Yeah. Like when the guy says, I got burned pretty bad by the rain, I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured. And when, like, when they get to the cornucopia or whatever it's supposed to be, when they get to that and, like, Finnick says, there wasn't another cannon, he's here somewhere. I'm like, yeah, we figured.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a couple little moments like that, but not too distracting or overbearing on the exposition. Like, I don't know, I feel like since I have just a general idea of what the Hunger Games are in the sense of it's kids being told that they have to fight to the death, it made sense. I didn't have, like, too many questions about it.
I think that this is a really great example of something that, like, completely makes sense to make a fan film of, because, one, it's something that you can inherently do on a low budget as long as you can get the sky effects to look right, which they did, like the little hologram in the sky of the faces, like, that looks fine, and I'm like, okay, good. But, like, Hunger Games is something you can do really low budget, because you just need kids in, like, some sort of, like, skin-tight, like, water-resistant suit, which is what they were wearing in this, which is, like, it makes it look kind of goofy, but, like, that's pretty much what everybody always wears. Like, that makes perfect sense for what their outfits would look like. The setting is perfectly serviceable, because you just have to go out into nature for that, essentially.
I do like that they chose something where it has to be kids. It's weird how many novels and stuff that are written for teenagers don't have teenagers as the main characters.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it'll be teenagers, a lot of times it'll be, 20-year-olds, college kids, and a lot of times it'll just do adults, but this does a pretty good, like, it's just a good franchise to do fan films for, because it's something marketed toward teenagers, and it's, like, starring teenagers, so they can just make it, and it's fine.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like, why this intrigued me is just because I'm like, oh, I really like Finnick. He's my favorite character from the books. And then just to see, like, a little fan film of... And as soon as I saw what the title was, I was like, oh, this is going to be Finnick's time in the arena. And then so, like, that's what I was expecting. And I was like, okay, yeah. So, like, it's a perfect, like, no-brainer for a fan film. If you like Hunger Games, if you like Finnick, which a lot of people like Finnick, and then, like, it's just, like, a no-brainer. And, like, I think that it was a really smart choice because they didn't have to reach for things that they couldn't achieve.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very competently made for what it is. I just don't think there was anything that wowed me about this. Part of that is just because, like I keep saying, I'm not into Hunger Games at all.
Yeah.
It's just not a franchise I ever really cared for in any big way. I don't know, I was too old by the time it got popular, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I never got into the whole thing, and so I'm kind of already only softly invested, and then just, it's got some okay fight choreography, but nothing extreme, and it's got some nice quiet moments, but the acting, it doesn't not sell those moments, but it's just not as, what's the term? It's not as intense as I think it could be.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird that they're... What I don't get is Finnick and... What's the name of the girl in this?
I have no idea what her name was.
Okay. He and her have kind of, like, partnered up, and then at the end, Finnick kills the one guy, and then they're like, I'm sorry too. I'm like, wait, so you guys were gonna kill each other the whole time?
Okay, well...
I just...
the thing about that is, okay, so, like, when you're in the Hunger Games, it's a boy and a girl from each district, so it's pretty gender binary, actually. But, so there's a boy and a girl from each district, and they have to... And, like, so when you go into the games, typically, you want to, like, kind of befriend the person that you're with, but the thing is, only one person survives in the end. So, like, you have to be willing to turn on your best friend at the end, like, because, like, only one of you makes it out alive.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. It's just, like, are they supposed to be from the same district the whole time?
I think they are. I'm not really sure, because I don't remember that. I don't remember if they ever mentioned in the book specifically who Finnick was with when he got sent into the arena, so I don't know if...
Well, like, from what I understood... And I don't know, maybe I would have just found this more interesting. But then again, I'm on a bit of a Predator kick right now. From what I understood, the guy talking about, we only get, like, a brief description of what Finnick's Hunger Games were. And he pretty much talked about how he kind of just was off in the woods on his own the entire time, and he hunted down every single survivor he could find and just killed them in cold blood.
Mm.
And I guess I just would have found that more interesting than what we get in this.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you wanted to make, like, yeah, that is I guess the case. Like, see, it's been so long since I've read the Hunger Games books. All I really remember about Finnick's time in the arena is that he used a trident and he did win. So I don't know if that would, like, I don't know, that would have been interesting, and that would have been, but that's something that I think would require a little bit more acting prowess to accomplish, because I think if you did something like that, what you really need to show is you need to, like, show how mentally it affects someone to just go murdering a bunch of kids their own age in order to survive.
Yeah, and that's why I would have found that more interesting, is just that, hating yourself for what you had to become to survive is a plot point I've always found kind of fascinating. It's probably my favorite thing about the Predators, about the film Predators. And so I just would have inherently found that more interesting than just this kind of like typical setup of boy and girl with romantic subtext. It's weird to me because I don't know why she waited to kill him until after he killed the other guy. Like, I would have figured it would have been a good idea to, like, sneak up behind him while he was in the middle of killing the dude.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a thing where, like, if you watch, most of the time in the Hunger Games books, they always kind of talk about, like, that always kind of crosses your mind, like, well, why don't they just betray each other? And the thing with that is, like, if we had seen more, it would make sense why she waited, because the thing is, at least what they want you to be like is, look, they're friends, and they're going to be friends until everyone's dead besides them two. They're not going to turn on each other until they absolutely have to. And that's the mentality that, like, is in a lot of the books. It's like people work together until everyone opposing them is gone, and then they turn. So that makes sense, but, like, obviously you can kind of see it coming. It's I don't know. It's just a matter of, like, I guess she just was, like, waiting for the proper moment, like when it's like, hey, look, he's dead. I don't want you to die feeling like I just betrayed you. I want you to see it coming. I want us to fight it out.
Okay, I guess I can see that. I don't know. I was able to enjoy this to some extent, but it's one of those things, I guess, where the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of like, I don't know, just hearing what was in the book, it could have been done just as effectively, it could have looked just as good, you just would have needed a better actor, and, I don't know, to get one good actor in a fan film doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everyone else would have just, you could have done them just coming on screen real quick and then dying real fast.
Yeah, and it's also a matter of, like, the script needs to, this is also part of script. Like, even if you had a great actor in this role, this is not like the script of this fan film, like, as it is. It's not enough to give any sort of characterization to Finnick. Like, with what he says in this, it's really hard, unless you know Finnick coming into it, to really get a sense of Finnick as a person by the end.
Gotcha. Yeah, because, I don't know, I guess he feels bad, but I don't, you telling me that he feels jaded and just kind of rolls with this, ridiculous society after his Hunger Games, I don't know if I buy that from the character we're seeing portrayed here. I don't know if I see that as the logical extension of this character.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, going back to what I was told the original story was, I could see that being the logical extension of that character. He became a monster to survive, so he just kind of accepts being around the people who are the real monsters. I can totally see that, and he just doesn't care anymore because he doesn't feel like he deserves to go back home. Kind of, right away I can see that.
And it's even actually more layered than that too, because on top of that, when you win the Hunger Games, you're like a celebrity. Everyone loves you. So he's pretty much living in a society where, especially Finnick, because in the books he's this really attractive guy. You're like, and like, I'm not saying this kid's not, but I'm just saying, like, in the books, like, they stress, like, oh, he's so ripped and toned and tan, and his hair is so nice, and he's just he's got such a nice smile, and it's like, this guy becomes, like, a Justin Bieber-like figure amongst these people who love him, and it's like, I killed all of these people, and now you becoming a savage is what made me a hero in the eyes of the public, and also on top of that, these people wouldn't care about me for a second if I had died in the arena. They were cheering people on, hoping that they would kill me. So it's like he's part of this really, really hypocritical society that just doesn't care about anyone, yet they idolize this guy who just murdered all these kids.
Yeah. That is what makes it really interesting and just strange to watch this, because he tries to make him more human and give him a more heroic backstory, but I don't know. Like, you know, he just seems to be a really intelligent kid. The character comes off as, you know, regretting what he's doing, but like, I don't think he was regretting it in the moment. It's so hard to talk about just a synopsis, right?
Yeah.
I don't see that was the character. I see that regret kind of boiling over long term. Kind of like turning to alcoholism to treat PTSD. And so that's just this interpretation of it, this kind of like more base. Would you say that this plot kind of lines up with the like first Katniss story?
And yeah, it's a very similar thing. It's just people in the Hunger Games, they try to survive. And the only difference is that, like, at the end of the first Hunger Games book, it is a scenario where it's the two friends are left. Are they going to turn on each other, or... And in the book, they choose the or. They go a different route instead of turning on each other at the very end. But, like... yeah, so it's kind of a similar thing with Predator Dark Ages, where I said this about that, and that when you do a Predator fan film, oftentimes it's gonna just wind up being Predator the movie in a different setting. And that's kind of the same issue that you would run into with this, but I think that could have been circumvented if we had been more in Finnick's head, because Finnick is a very different character from Katniss. So you can do... I think what this needed was some sort of, like, internal monologue going on, where, like, Finnick's talking about things in his head, and you are experiencing what he's feeling.
Yeah, that would have helped. To just ground this more in the source material, I think would have helped as well, because I guess if you want to make a Finnick fan... If you want to make a Finnick fan film, you should make a Finnick fan film, because this just feels more like an original story to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as an original story, that would be fine, but just knowing what I now know about the character, I just find that much more interesting than what we get here. And so, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, it would be like making a Green Lantern fan film with Kyle Rayner, but using Hal Jordan's origin. It's just feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see it here, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's also something they could have gone with is that, like, Finnick is one of those people who he's like overly ready to be in the Hunger Games. Like, if you had to, like, pick someone and, like, bet money on, like, I think this person's definitely gonna make it to the end, Finnick's like one of those people. He's really skilled with a trident, and so, like, when you go into the arena, he's one of the guys to look out for. I think it would have been awesome and really kind of creepy if it was, like, him dealing with all these people that are nowhere near on the level combat skill-wise as he is, and he's like, imagine that. Like, imagine I've got to kill all these people to survive. I'm way better than any of them. It's like murdering my, like, 5-year-old cousin. It's so easy to do at that point. Like, You know, like how scary that is to be the unstoppable figure amongst a bunch of people not ready to take you on.
Yeah. Like, just the more we talk about this, the more I think I would have liked just something closer to the source material. And I don't know, I can't say that, 100% because I don't know the source material, so maybe if I'd seen something like that, I wouldn't have liked it as much. Or maybe the actor wouldn't have been capable of communicating that enough for me, and I would have been left scratching my head. As is, I'm just kind of like, it was okay, it was well made, it looks really good.
Yeah.
The complete, just dialed the lever to 11 to get the color correction that he wanted in this, to make the blues and the purples really, really blue and purple, and the yellows and the greens really, really come out. The integration of the cornucopia was pretty good, but it kind of does a thing that annoys me, where it either disappears or we never get, like, another shot of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to integrate a 3D element in your scene, it should just at some point be in the background of a couple shots again.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't look very good, can't you just, like, put, like, the background in soft focus a little bit? So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can kind of, like, soft focus it out, so, like, you can see the shape of it behind them, but, like, it's not in focus right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is it looks like they got to the thing, and then either it disappeared or they teleported to an identical field to do their fight. And that's the thing that bothered me. Because, I mean, that camera seems like it's moving kind of at a couple different angles, so it should have been at least conceivable to put that there. A couple ways to do that are to shoot a bunch of plates, which is when you just for people curious about how methods that would work, you could shoot a bunch of plates, like, and a plate is just a still image of the background that you're going to have, with no actors in it or anything. And you get a couple different plates from a couple different angles, and then erect an outdoor green screen, and just green screen that out, or blue screen, whatever color would work best for your shooting situation. And then just get that out in post, and then you can once again integrate it. That wouldn't be like it'd look okayish. If it's in the background in soft focus, it'd be fine. Just stuff like that, because it does feel like it kind of just disappears, and that bothers me. I don't think we've had that issue with a fan film yet, where like a set element just is gone.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there was and we just didn't notice, but this is like a big, huge thing that's in the middle of the scene, so it kind of is hard not to note, or it's kind of hard to miss after a while.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of on this one?
I don't know. I just wanted to say, I for the most part, like, this is shot really well. There was a couple moments where it got a little bit too shaky when they were running through the woods. And that's just the only reason I bring that up is because sometimes it looked great when they were running through the woods. A couple times, the camera just got, like, way too, like, wobbly. And I don't think they were trying to do shaky cam. I think it might have been, like, a accident because they were, like, handheld camming that shot for some reason, and it just kind of, like, got too shaky.
Yeah, it was interesting. I saw how he did that shot. He got a zipline kit where you can just attach it to two things and then zipline your camera.
Yeah.
And he just attached it to two trees and then threw the camera on a zipline, and apparently, like, it was a little too light, so he needed to weigh it down more, which is why it gets a little wobbly in places. So that's an issue he was very much aware of. This guy's done, like, I think he mentioned another Hunger Games fan film that was like 40-something minutes long.
Oh.
So it was done before this, so you're going to look at a drop in quality probably, but if you want to check it out, I don't think I'm planning to, just because I'm not a Hunger Games guy.
Might give it a look.
Yeah, and if people watching this and that watched the fan film to watch this, which I've actually had a couple people mention to me, which is nice. Glad we're getting some attention. Yeah, I mean, if you liked his stuff, please go check out more of his stuff. general factoid to go with. Just generally, that's good advice. If you like someone's stuff, go check out more of their stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds smart until you think about it and realize it's not. Anything else we can talk about with this? The costumes, you said that they kind of look like the right kind of thing. They do look kind of dorky to me.
Yeah, they do. But it's like a matter of, like, when they throw you in the arena, they give you, like, an outfit that's kind of, like, good for that area. And so if it's, like, a warm area with a lot of water, it would make sense for them to be wearing these kind of outfits. But, like, yeah, it is kind of like a thing where, like, they do look kind of dorky and goofy, but, like, they never establish exactly what the suits of, like, Finnick's game, like, when he was in the Hunger Games, they never established, I don't think, in any of the books or anything, what those exactly look like. And
well, I mean, what they look like is either football trainer or maybe water training of some kind.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know, I just found it a bit distracting, I guess. It's kind of hard to take someone super serious when they're wearing something kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a problem superhero movies have been dealing with for a long time. And they're working on getting that better and better, so. It's not a big concern. Costuming's kind of hard in a fan film, particularly when you don't have something to really go off of, so.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah, that would not have worked very well.
Alright, let's go ahead and do a rating. You go first.
I'm going to give this fan film 3 out of 5 tridents.
I'm going to give this fan film... Now, this is going to sound low, but it's just because the more I think about it, the less I enjoy it. I'm going to give this fan film 2.25 out of 5 more interesting backstories. And that sounds low, and I don't mean to be mean or anything. It's just how I felt about it overall. I just didn't care for it enough. Definitely didn't get me into the franchise. And not that it was intending to. This is made for people who are fans of the franchise. Frans the franchise. Are you a fan of the franchise, Squatch?
Fan of the franchise.
Okay. What's a franchise? I want a fan. That sounds like Chinese food.
That sounds like a franchise of fan films based off of a popular franchise. The franchise.
Actually, you could almost call the Joker blogs that, because that was so popular that people started making spin-off fan films for other Batman villains called Batman Villain Name Vlogs. Vlogs, whatever. It was really funny.
Awesome.
Let's see here. What am I going to pick? Okay. I've got 2 choices in mind, one of which looks fantastic, but is really, really going to be alienating as fuck if you have no idea about the franchise. One of which doesn't look good, and will still be slightly alienating if you don't know anything about the franchise, but probably less so. Which one do you think will be the better choice?
Let's pick the less alienating one.
Okay, so we're going to go with the one that actually doesn't have aliens in it, but instead cyborgs. We're going to be talking about an Archer fan film.
Oh my god.
I was thinking of what to pick a couple weeks ago, and I saw this, and I looked at the film quality, and it's not great. I will warn you, the audio is really, really quiet. So if you have like a PlayStation hooked up to your TV with a YouTube app, watch it on that and turn the volume all the way up. But I actually did watch through this a couple weeks ago, and I quite enjoyed it, so I think it'll be fun to talk about. We're going to talk about, let me just look up the specific name of it. I think it's just called Archer, a fan film. Archer, quote-unquote, fan film. And it's actually pretty recent. It was uploaded only like a month ago, YouTube says, which means probably 2 months ago. Yeah, May 4th, so... We'll be talking about that next time. Won't that be fun?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the the Squatch King.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing...